Hey there, I'm Richa from My Food Story, and I get asked so many times about the kind of kitchen utensils and gadgets that we have in our kitchen, how to stock a brand new kitchen, what to buy, what are my favorite brands. So here I am today, and I'm going to take you through all the utensils and equipment that we use in the My Food Story kitchen. This is part 1 of this series where I'm only going to talk about all the utensils and tools that we use, and we're also going to come out with a part 2 soon where we'll cover all the electronic gadgets that we use. So when it comes to pots, pans, frying pans, kadhais, I think stainless steel is one of my favorite things, and I have a lot of that stuff. So I recommend buying like large stock pots like this when you're making things like stock, you're boiling pasta, you're boiling rice, especially if you have a slightly larger family. These are amazing, very long lasting, durable, and they'll just be handy for so many things. I also have a bunch of smaller stock pots, so something which is without handles, something which is with handles. Of course, these are things that we use every single day to boil milk, make chai, etc. But these are also great if you're making things like caramel, you're doing a bunch of sauces. I sometimes even use these for frying, like for deep frying. I love the fact that they have a slightly longer edge. So it's a lot easier when you're deep frying stuff, when you're whisking a sauce, etc. So I love these sturdy frying pans. They're again stainless steel. I use them for searing meat. I use them for making eggs. I use them for like regular stir frying, reheating food, etc. Sometimes even for making sauces, putting things together. So if I'm doing like a curry or if I'm doing like a continental chicken recipe, I'll just make the sauce in it and then finally put everything together. These are triple ply stainless steel, and they're really long lasting. And a lot of you may wonder, comparing them to non-stick, why stainless steel? Because it's just so much safer than non-stick. There's no risk of the coating coming off, and it almost behaves like non-stick if you know the techniques and you know how to cook your food well. So a lot of you have asked me about these kadhais in the comments because you see a lot of these in our videos. Again, stainless steel. Look for something that has a triple layer of stainless steel, something that says that it's heavy. It's a heavy bottom kadhai, because those are what will last you well, and those prevent food from burning. We use these for deep frying as a replacement for our wok sometimes when we're making noodles or rice or some Chinese dishes. We use them every day for making gravies, ghar ka sabzi, etc, etc. The brands that I love are basically 3, and I use only these brands. Like, these are the only ones I have in my kitchen. So there's Vinod, which makes really high quality stainless steel. There's KitchenAid, and I have quite a bunch of stuff from them. And then there's a brand called Mayer, which is a little more expensive, but I've been using it for years now, and it's still perfect. Okay, let's talk about non-stick pans. I don't love them, but they're definitely a necessity, especially if you want to cook with slightly lesser oil, or you want to make something like scrambled eggs, for which I highly recommend using a non-stick pan. So I have a bunch of these. One is from Vinod, one is from Prestige. I think they're both great brands, and you can just pick up something blindfolded. I also want to talk about this dosa tawa, which is from the Hawkins Futura brand, and this is 8 years old and it's still going strong. The thing with non-stick is that if you want it to last long, you have to be really careful while using it. So pick ladles and spatulas that are made of silicone and wood instead of steel. Don't use a scrubber while washing it. Be gentle, and that will make sure that your non-stick cookware lasts you a long time. Let's talk about cast iron and Dutch ovens. These things are super heavy, and I've heard that they can last you generations if you take care of them. I have an entire cabinet full of this stuff. I think I'm obsessed with it. So I have a ton of cast iron skillets. I have like multiple Dutch ovens, frying pans that I use regularly. I also love how they look. The fact that you can take them directly from the stove to the oven and that they are actually good for you when you're cooking food in them. So the iron content in a cast iron pan is actually beneficial and nutritious to the food that you're cooking. I love my cast iron skillets and I use them regularly. They make the best fried eggs. I love it if I'm searing meat, making steaks, or like just roasting vegetables, etc. The Dutch ovens are great if you're making a big batch of biryani or pulao, if you're doing something like ramen or soups, which have a lot of volume. They also are great if you want to roast a chicken, because you can put that in and just dump it in the oven. A lot of people use these Dutch ovens if they're doing bread like sourdoughs. So they're super versatile, and like I said before, they're just going to last you a long time. The only thing that you have to be careful about while using your cast iron is to season it really well. And I have an entire video where I'm showing you how to season and take care of your cast iron skillets that is saved on my Instagram stories, and I'll leave a link to it in the description below. So this is probably one of my favorite utensils in the kitchen because we make a lot of Indian Chinese food. So this is a carbon steel wok by a brand called Alda. And we use it for basically everything Indian Chinese. Stir fries, gravies, appetizers, fried rice, noodles. It's amazing because of its shape, this wide shape that it has, which makes it really easy to stir fry stuff in it, and it maintains the heat for a really long time. So mud pots have been around for a long time, and they're literally what was used traditionally for cooking, and I think they're making a comeback right now. I've had these for years because they've been passed on to me from Denver's mom. They actually season their mud pots at home, and I've got a bunch of these back with me. I also have this one from a brand called Green Heirloom that I've used recently in my dal makhani video. We use them a lot to make fish curries, pork, a lot of Indian gravies because they add that beautiful smoky flavor. They're also great if you want to slow cook something, and I absolutely love them. I think you should definitely have a few of these in your kitchen. Let's talk pressure cooker. This is my trusty 9-year-old Prestige pressure cooker that is still going strong. I don't know why people are scared of these things, but they are amazing because they cut down your cooking time in half. And I think every Indian kitchen has one of these. I have like 2 more of these, but this one is the oldest, the smallest, and probably the best. I've started using these a little less since I got my Instant Pot, which is an electric pressure cooker. I'm going to talk about that in part 2 of this series. But these pressure cookers are still great. They're durable, they last you a long time, and they're very affordable. So I have a bunch of tools that I use in the kitchen. So there are things like these steel spoons and ladles. My only advice is when you're buying stuff like this, don't try to save like 50 bucks here and there. Buy things that are good quality stainless steel because that's the only way they're going to last you a long time, and these things can last you forever. We also love these basic balloon whisks that are from Amazon Basics. This microplane zester that is super useful for zesting things like lemon or just garlic. This fish spatula that I actually got from IKEA, and I think there are lots of brands that sell these. These are great for flipping cutlets, for flipping fish of course, for making meat, etc. We use a lot of spatulas these days in the kitchen, and my only advice while buying a spatula is to look for something that is seamless silicone and not detachable, because in our experience the parts usually tend to come off and they also tend to get more dirty. So when it comes to tongs, there are different varieties that you get. These silicone ones are great if you're using them on a non-stick pan. These steel ones can be used for anything, and we also like a pair of these tweezers that come in handy if you're actually trying to do some food styling. So you have something really small that you want to place on a dish, or you want to plate something, and these can be really handy for that. We also use these to turn really tiny pieces of chicken or fish or meat or vegetables while roasting them on the pan because they're so small and they have like a really thin edge to them. I learned the importance of measuring cups and spoons when I started my food story, because we have to measure everything while writing a recipe, and we have a bunch of these, so a lot of measuring cups, spoons, and most of our stuff is stainless steel, which is what I recommend because it doesn't degrade like plastic does. It's also really friendly if you're trying to heat something quickly. It's easy to clean, and we really love our stainless steel stuff here. We also regularly use a bunch of these measuring jugs or jars, and all of these are from Pyrex. The reason we like glass is because it's really sturdy. It's also easy to microwave, so if you're say baking something, you want to just quickly heat up some milk, or you want to warm up some chocolate in the microwave, whisk a sauce in a measuring jug while measuring the ingredients, these are really handy. They're also see-through, so you can see if there's bits stuck to the bottom, or you have different layers of ingredients. They make it really easy to do all of that. So we have a bunch of mixing bowls in the kitchen. These are our glass mixing bowls, and we only use two brands, which are Pyrex and Borosil, because the glass is really durable and high quality, and you need that when you're doing some vigorous whisking or mixing, etc. Clear glass bowls are also very useful when you're making things like cake batter, because you can tell if some of the batter is stuck to the bottom or there's dry flour that still hasn't been incorporated. We also have a bunch of these stainless steel mixing bowls that we use for everything from storing chopped things or just doing some whisking or mixing in the kitchen. The advantage is that they're lightweight, they're obviously more sturdy and durable, unbreakable, and really easy to store. They're also Mahi safe, and they make for a great toy if you have a toddler. So I again get a lot of questions around knives, and my one advice to you is to invest in a set of high quality knives. They may seem a little expensive in the beginning, but trust me, they're worth it. I've seen my mom use knives which are like 50 bucks a knife, but I've seen how many times they are used and thrown, and over time it just doesn't make sense. I have knives from Victorinox and a brand called Global, which is not available in India. It's only available in the US, I think. But if you do have somebody who's visiting, or if you're visiting, make sure to buy a bunch of these. So these are fully stainless steel knives. I love the grip, I love the durability, and they're really sharp. Victorinox knives are easily available in India, so they have smaller knives like the serrated knife, a paring knife, peelers, etc. I've been using them for years. They again have a really strong grip, they're lightweight and really easy to use. I also recommend investing in knife sharpeners. So this one is used for non-serrated knives, and this one is for serrated knives. These will make sure that you don't have to keep buying knives. A blunt knife is probably your worst enemy in the kitchen. It's a myth that if your knife is too sharp, you're going to cut your fingers. In fact, if your knife is too blunt, you're definitely going to cut your fingers. So make sure to always use sharp knives in your kitchen. Again, I have a bunch of chopping boards. I prefer using like a wood-based chopping board versus plastic. This is from a brand called Hokipo that's available on Amazon, and this comes in various sizes. So you get much smaller ones or like really large ones if you have a big kitchen counter. Look for something that has a decent thickness, because if it's too flimsy, it'll just break over time. A mortar and pestle is also really important in the kitchen. So we usually end up using a lot of stone-based stuff. This is a marble mortar and pestle. I also have a stone-based one that I picked up in Pune many years ago off the streets. I remember my mom using the flat one, and I think she still uses them to grind chutneys, etc. They are fantastic because the flavors when you grind things in these are nothing compared to what happens in a mixie. So we use a variety of colanders and strainers in our kitchen. These are handheld ones, so you have something for chai, slightly bigger ones if you want to strain rice or noodles, etc. But what I really love are these self-standing colanders and strainers. So these are round ones that you can just place in your sink, and you don't have to hold them or worry about them toppling over. And these are actually really cool. So they come with an expandable handle that you can just place over your sink so that straining something is completely hands-free and the water can just flow down versus settling in the food that you're straining. So I hope this answers all your questions about the utensils that we use, the tools that we use in our kitchen, and I'm only recommending brands that I truly love to you guys, brands that I've been using over the years. I'm going to leave a link to all of these things in the description below so that you can check them out for yourself. If you found this video helpful, please hit like, leave a comment, share this with your friends, and definitely subscribe to our channel.